The topic of the message is missing or messing up the day of your manifestation. Missing or messing up the day of your manifestation. Missing or messing up the day of your manifestation. Let's turn to Esther, the book of Esther, chapter 1. Book of Esther, chapter 1 and chapter 2. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, this is Ahasuerus which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 127 provinces, that is 127 provinces. That in those days, when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces, being before him, when he shewed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days, that is 180 days, 6 months. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace, where were white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen, and purple to silver rings and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, and royal wine in abundance, according to the state of the king. And the drinking was according to the law. None did compare, for so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house, that they should do according to every man's pleasure. Also, Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to King Ahasuerus. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Habona, Bigtha, Abagtha, Zeta, and Kakas, the 7 chamberlains, personal assistants, that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look on. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. Then the king said to the wise men which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. And the next unto him was Kashena, Shata, Admata, Tashish, Mas, Masena, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to law, because she had not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains? And Memucan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen had not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes. When it shall be reported, the king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king princes which have heard of the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. And when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. And the saying pleased the king and the princes. And the king did according to the words of Memucan. For he sent letters into all the king's provinces, into every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house, and that it should be published according to the language of every people. After these things, when the wrath of the king Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti, and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servant that ministered unto him, Let there be fair young virgins sought for the king, and let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of Hage, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women. And let their things for purification be given them. And let the Medians which please set the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Now in Shushan the palace there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimeah, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity, which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. And he brought up Hadeshah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother. And the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took her for his own daughter. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many Medians were gathered together unto Shushan the palace to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women. And the Median pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her her things for purification with such things as belonged to her, and 7 Medians which were meet to be given her out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maids unto the best place of the house of the women. Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it. And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. And when every maid's turn was come to go in to King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months according to the manner of the women, So we are the days of their purification accomplished to wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odor, and with other things for the purifying of the women. Then thus came every Midian unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women to the custody of Shashgaz and the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king's no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name. Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but that Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed, and Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her. So Esther was taken unto the king Ahasuerus into his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebet, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast. And he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet showed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai had charged her. For Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlain, Bigtan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wrought and sought to lay hands on the king Ahasuerus. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen, and Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore they were both hanged on a tree, and it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king. Praise the Lord. So, like I said, the topic again is what? Missing or messing up the day of your manifestation. The story we've read is the story of the fall of Queen Vashti and the rise of Esther the orphan. Now, as we read in those passages, the king had made a feast that lasted for 6 months, and gathered all the leaders of his 127 provinces, stretching from Ethiopia to India, and then gathered them for a feast, and they were there on the account of the king, eating and drinking and marrying for 6 complete months. Can you imagine where the king gathered all such number of human beings and was feeding them for 6 months? Not with cheap food, with real delicacies. And then, after the 6 months, he now came down to Shushan, where the palace was, and then organized another festival, another feast for the people that were living in Shushan. This one is for everybody, not just for the princes or rulers. And that one was for 7 days, and they were eating and drinking, and it was food galore. And so the king was so happy with the whole event. And then on the last day, as it were, he was so happy, and then he wanted, everybody were praising him. So he now wanted the queen also to come around and sit with him and then savor the whole honor and glory that was coming to him, so that people will see her beauty, her radiance, her majesty. He was wanting her to have a grand entrance into the banquet that was going on. And then, unfortunately, the queen refused to come. And the king was very offended and very annoyed, and all the princes were all there. And then the king called his cabinet, said, "Look at what has happened. What do we do?" And they gave their counsel that what she did is not only against him, is not only a slight against him, the king, but it is also against the princes. It is a disrespect to the king, to the princes, to the leaders, and to the people. And if this thing is not handled, it will go to town. And the story will be that the king called the queen to come. And the queen said, "Leave me alone, I won't come." Then other men, other princes, other rulers also, their wives will follow her steps. And then there will be commotion in the whole country that this thing is a dangerous precedent, and so it must be handled. What the king should do is he should sign a decree, the decree of the maids and the patient that cannot be altered, that the queen is hereby banished from coming near the king. Her estate is taken from her and is given to another. She has just become an ordinary citizen, no longer the queen. She was deposed, as it were. And the king said, "Okay, if that will bring sanity in the land." And that was what they did. And after the feast, and sometimes they noticed that the king he had nobody around him as the queen figure. When they noticed that, "Okay, king, you need to look for another person to appoint the king. And for us to do that, we need to bring all the young ladies all over the province, and then you will select one of them that will be your queen." And in the end, Esther, who was not a national, eventually was taken and selected to be the queen. So that is the story. Now, that day that the king sent for Queen Vashti to appear before him, to have a grand entrance into that feast, into that arena, into that ceremony. He wanted her to have a grand appearance, which she did. It was the day of her manifestation, to show her to the whole world that this is my royal queen, and the way he feels about her. But she messed it up and she missed it. And from that very day, even the little one she has was taken away from her, and she lost all. So I want you to know, men and brethren, that there is a day of manifestation. There is always a day of manifestation in the life of every child of God. And may you not miss your day of manifestation. I say, may you not miss your day of manifestation. The Bible talks about such days. Let's just read some few scriptures. 1 John chapter 2. and verse 28. And now, little children, abide in him, that when he shall appear, we may have confidence and not be ashamed before him at his coming. If you know that he is righteous, you know that everyone that doeth righteousness is born of him. The point I am tracing from there is that the day of manifestation in the context we are reading here is the day we will all be manifested to be like Jesus. We shall be like him. And then in chapter 3, it talks about what manner of love the Father has bestowed upon us, that we should be what? Called the sons of God. It does not yet, the world does not know us because he knew not him. We are the sons of God, and it does not yet appear what we shall be. But we know this, that when he shall appear, what will happen? We shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. So, and then he said, every man that had this hope in him purified himself, even as he is pure. This is the manifestation in the day when Jesus will come. But this is not the manifestation we are talking about in the context of this teaching. The manifestation we are talking about in the context of this teaching is the day of your glory, the day of your shining, the day of your visitation, as it were. So there is a day that is being set for your manifestation. And I see that day here with us. There is a day of manifestation of every man's in every man's life, and yours is shortly by the corner. It will soon manifest in your life, depending on what you do with the truth that you will receive.